Hello students, and welcome to our next video, our continuing lesson on relative standing. The last video we talked about z-scores, and now we get into the topic of percentile. And I'm sure you've heard this phrase before, especially if you've taken standardized tests. So let's say you scored in the 80th percentile. That means you were higher than 80% of the people. So 80th percentile means that you are in the top 20%. 90th percentile means you are in the top 10%. Okay? But to give this a more precise definition, percentile are locations that divide data set into 100 groups, and each group has approximately 1% of the values. Okay? So, in other words, a percentile is like if you have a ton of data, okay, and we kind of draw lines to break up this data. So we'll say each one of these bars captures about 1% of the data. This is about 1%, this is about 1%. Now the distances between the bars may not be the same because there may be a lot of data in one of these than there are in one of the other segments. But that's basically the idea. So the percentile here is the number of values less than x divided by n, and at this point you are expected to know what these variables represent, what x represents, what n represents, because in statistics the particular letters that we use for variables, they're kept consistent for a specific reason. They have the same meaning even over many different chapters and sections. So if you don't know what x represents and if you don't know what n represents, please go and look it up in your previous notes. Okay? So once we do these calculations, we round to the nearest whole number. Okay? And as you can sort of see already in stats, there are different rules for rounding. It isn't quite like science when you have sig figs. It isn't quite like other branches of math where you're asked for a exact answer or you're always specified. You always get some explanation regarding what to round to for every single problem. There's different rules for different situations. So there's already a rule for rounding z-scores. There's a rule for rounding percentile. There's a general rule for rounding any other statistics. And so it might be helpful for you at this point to kind of make a study guide of when to round and how to round. But with that in mind, let's take a look at this example. If a movie costs $60 million to make, what percentile is it in? So again, we're looking for the 60th percentile. So we want to count the number of values less than 60. So count values less than 60 in the sample. So let's look at our original data set here, and let's count the values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So there are 14 numbers here that are less than 60. So I stopped here because this is 60. So there are 14 numbers less than 60. So we have 14 over n. Now n is the sample size, which is 35. Oops, I think I made a mistake here. This is not the 60th percentile. This is the percentile for $60 million. So this is incorrect on my part. We don't know what the percentile is yet. We're trying to figure it out. So sorry about the confusion here. This is not the 60th percentile. This is an unknown percentile that we're trying to figure out using $60 million. So this is $60 million. Okay? And you can kind of see that this can be kind of confusing. You may mix up these numbers. So it's really important to, when you're working with stats, to always ask yourself what these numbers represent and what they mean. Okay? Alright, so with that in mind, we do the calculation, and 14 over 35 is 0.4. So this makes it 40%. Okay? And we don't need to round because it's already a nice whole number. So that means $60 million is the 40th percentile. Okay, so 60, if a movie costs $60 million to make, that puts it in the 40th percentile of all movie budgets. All right, now let's look at the next problem, finding data value of a given percentile. So this is like saying I give you a percentile, so the percentile is given, and we are asked to find the data value, or the cutoff point. So let's look at these variables here and make some sense of them. So K is the percentile, whatever it is. So maybe you're asked to find, if you're asked to find the 70th percentile, K would be 70. L is the locator in a sorted list. So let's talk about what locator means. So 4.5 has a locator of 1, 5 has a locator of 2, 6.5 has a locator of 3. So locator is just the order in the list. This is the first number, second number, third number, fourth number, fifth number. This data value 72 has a locator of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So 72 has a locator of 22. Okay? So that's all L really represents. Now the important part about this is that it must be a sorted list. If this list is not sorted, none of this calculations that we're about to do here makes any sense. So the list must absolutely be sorted. Most of the time, tests and quizzes, it'll be nice and sort them for you. On some occasions, it will not be sorted, and you'll have to recognize that and do it yourself. And this is the formula that we use. So the locator is equal to the percentile divided by 100 times n. Okay? And we always round up to the next whole number. Okay, so again, lots of different rounding rules here, so it's important that you are able to keep this straight. Alright, so let's look at an example. What value is the cutoff point for a movie to be in the 80th percentile? In other words, if I want to be in the 80th percentile, how much money does that movie have to make? So we can apply our definitions here. So K is the percentile. So in this case, K is equal to 80. L is the locator. Sorry to switch back and forth here so much. L is the locator in the sorted list, and we're going to use this formula here to find L. Okay? So I'll keep this list handy. So L is equal to K over 100 times n. We know that K is 80 over 100 times n, which is 35 in this case. And this gives us 28. Okay? So we are looking for the 28th value in the list. And we don't have to round here because it happens to be a nice round number. So we look for the 28th value in the list in order to determine our answer. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. So that's $116 million. So piece of K is the actual value, which is $116 million. So that means in order for us to make it into the 80th percentile in terms of movie costs, that movie should cost about $116 million. So we have seen two examples here. One to figure out the percentile. You're given a data value, you're given piece of k, and you have to figure out the percentile. That was example 3. And the other problem that we have here is you don't know, you know the percentile, you know the 80th percentile, and you're trying to find piece of k. So this is also a good point to end this video here. So we talked about Z-scores, we talked about percentile. Next we will discuss the 5 number summary.